Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're sitting here. I wanted to touch base with you today about media literacy and fact checking. Many of you have made comments about not trusting media. I want you to rethink that. There is trustworthy media, despite what some politicians may say. You just need to learn what makes media trustworthy. Media has always been chancy. When I was young, before the internet, there were certain newspapers and magazines that you knew were reliable. There were limited television channels, and they were reliable. Then came the internet and social media and streaming, and it has become harder to keep track of who is reliable and who is credible. It's too easy to say you can't believe anybody. Please don't say that. It isn't true. You just need to keep in mind what you want to look for. You want to look for reporting for the media outlets that actually do their own investigation. Reliable sources will also be clear about what is reportage and what is opinion. There is a company called Ad Fontes that crowdsources information about media sources. They've created a visual that can help you. You can find a link to it in the left-hand column of Blackboard in the media literacy section. There's also a link to a short online book there that you may want to read just to inform yourself. It's actually fairly easy to read, pretty quick, and kind of interesting. Why do I trust the Ad Fontes chart and, by extension, Ad Fontes? Because they tell me how they do what they do. This is part of developing a sense of who is giving you credible information. If you go to the Ad Fontes website, you will find their methodology. They tell you how they do what they do, how they collect their data, how they analyze it, and I will say that I find their methodology to be pretty sound. So if you read an article, take a moment. If it's from the top tier media in the Ad Fontes chart, regardless of which side of center it falls on, you're pretty safe relying on it. If it's reporting resulting from investigation from actual investigation, then you can be comfortable with the information and rely on that. Reliable media, like those in the top tier, will publish corrections when needed. They will give you links to studies that they are reporting about. They will tell you that something is a result of reporting or investigation. They'll provide you with the ability to check the credibility of what you are reading. If somebody is telling you, oh, this survey says, but they don't give you a link to the survey, or this study says, and they don't give you a link to the study, then you should immediately be suspect and go and check that. As I said, most reliable sources are going to give you that particular bit of information. Reliable sources will indicate what is opinion and what is editorial as well. You can be informed by opinion pieces and editorials, but you know what they are and you can disagree or agree as you will. You should also, with reliable sources, be able to check the facts and assertions that they make within those editorials and those opinions. The more reliable the source, the more information you're going to be given to let you make up your own mind. You can also find fact-checking sources like PolitiFact, Snopes, various sources like them. They will again tell you their methodology, how do they do what they do, so you can feel pretty clear and comfortable about the credibility of what they're telling you, okay? If you look at a fact check by PolitiFact or by Snopes, they're going to lay it out for you as to how they came to their conclusion. And they will give you a citation list that will allow you to go backtrack, and see if you agree, okay? But it's going to give you the ability to find out. If you're careful on social media and you look at the sources they use, you can figure out who's a reliable reporter there or not. There's some folks who are opinion writers who I trust, but I trust because they give me a list of resources that they've used to come to their opinion. And I've gone and looked at their opinions, or I've done it enough in the past that I'm pretty comfortable with accepting what they're saying at that time. There's a couple of historians that I follow who have blogs in social media. Again, they will give me the history, but they will also give me links to documents and resources where I can check to see that something actually did happen the way that they say it did happen. So it does take some work. You don't end up doing it all the time once you sort of get comfortable with it. You'll find sources that you trust, and you can check if something sounds a little hinky, check it, see. But there are sources out there that go out and do the research and do the work to give you the facts. Facts are not opinion. Facts are things that happen. Opinion comes when we start analyzing, assessing, and relaying those facts. So things happen. How someone interprets that moves it into something you can talk about and question. But things that happen, that there is proof that they happened, facts are facts. Okay, so as far as the readings I've given you are concerned, they're credible. You need to keep in mind who's telling the story, why they're telling the story, and how they tell it. In the case of historians like Trio or Zen, you can always look to see what their sources are. They should have primary documents listed. They should be telling you where they got the information they got to put together their narrative about history. Keep in mind, just because it's not something you've not heard about before, doesn't mean it isn't real. All the readings we've had up until now, Lord Acton, Schallbach, Trio, all of them are telling you that we tell stories to support the history that we want to have. If you are aware of that, then you will always be able to ask those questions that will help you understand the reality. So I had to read about the Nacirema and do the Jessica Lynch analysis in order to have you think about those trio factors regarding who creates the facts, who assembles the facts, who writes the narrative, who makes the narrative matter. I want you to use the skills suggested by Lord Acton to question who is telling the story, how qualified are they to tell it, and why they're telling it. I want you to be able to determine the agenda and understand where that narrator is coming from. So please, you can trust media, you just can't trust all media. And if you are truly wanting to know what's going on in the world, find yourself some sources that you can rely on. They're out there. They're out there. If any of you get into the Ad Fontes materials over there in the left-hand side of Blackboard, and you run into any problems figuring it out or understanding it, let me know. Be happy to talk with you or email back and forth or whatever. Thanks.